Okay, I want to start this one on by telling y'all that our administration are just a bunch of lying, thieving crooks. Now Cash Patel doesn't want anyone talking about Charlie Kirk, threatening to lock us up for talking about Charlie Kirk because ain't nothing they saying is making sense. We'll get to that in a minute. But the first thing I want to tell y'all is that this trade war, China is kicking our ass. If you look right here, Chinese exports surge, giving Xi a stronger hand in the trade fight. This is from a October 13th Bloomberg News, so it's not from China. And it states Chinese shipments overseas grew at the fastest in 6 months, with exports rising 8.3% in September from a year earlier to 328.6 billion. It's like they at normal standards right now. So what trade war? That's what China's saying. Now the shipments to the US plunged 27%, but the strong growth in sales to the regions like the European Union helped offset the decline, with export to non-US destinations growing 14.8%. So that means that the European Union is doing good also. Um, we not so much. But yeah, we do got good investments coming out of other allied countries and stuff, which is still kind of keeping that Wall Street looking good. But if you're talking about jobs on the ground, just for regular folks that don't play the Wall Street game, it's fucked up. Moving on.
That 100% tariff on top of what's in place already. You talk about 157% tariff on China. Can that stand?
No,
what is that going to do to the economy?
It's not sustainable, but that's what the number is. It's probably not, it could stand.
So he just said it's not sustainable. I don't know. It probably could stand. This is an idiot. An idiot talking here. That's what we have. An idiot.
But they forced me to do that. I think we're going to be fine with China, but we have to have a fair deal. It's got to be fair.
So I was looking at all the things that Donald Trump has said, about helping LGBTQ 9 years ago and how he completely flipped on that. And he's completely flipped on a lot of things. Free speech, said he was going to protect free speech, transparency. Now he ain't releasing nothing that don't make him look good. So he's completely flipped on everything, which is why we have a new crew of people, which I like to call the woke right. There are a lot of podcasters out there that built Trump, that built MAGA. They helped him win. No doubt about it. The Tucker Carlsons, the Steve Bannons, the Candace Owens, the Charlie Kirks, the Joe Rogans, and every single one of them I just named are now considered the woke right. So they're probably on a list that Trump has. That list where, don't none of them get invited to the White House. No special press passes, no special interviews, because they're not walking the walk and talking the talk that Trump wants them to walk. They keep bringing up the Epstein files. They keep talking about how this Charlie Kirk investigation is totally wrong. Nothing makes any sense. And we're talking about the best of the best when it comes to ballistics. 30 and 40-year veterans that have their own podcast now because they are such experts in this area, saying that the exit wound and the entry wound don't match. Nothing makes any sense. The 30-6 don't make sense. The way they say he jumped off the roof with the gun and stuffed it in his pants, broke it apart, put it back together, but left the screwdriver on the roof don't make sense. The timing of where he was supposed to be, according to his, Texas, and according to where he was at a Dairy Queen, don't make sense. The fact that they said that his father turned him in when a friend of the family recognized him and went over there and said, yeah, we know it's you. So he said it'd be a good idea if you turn yourself in, which had nothing to do with the FBI turning it in, yet they're claiming they had record time in finding him. So none of it makes any sense. But here we are. Here we are in an immigration war that don't make no sense. Taking away our workers. And I can understand if it ends up being the way that I've said it's going to end up. And I finally was wrong on something. I have not been wrong in a long time on the things that I decide to tell the public. And I'll get to what I was wrong about here in a minute. But everything else that I said was going to happen has happened. And some things haven't happened yet, but it's on its way. So when they start putting all these people in the fields to work these jobs, then you'll understand what the freelance market government is about, what I've been trying to tell you about for the last 4 years. When I was talking about Prospera, when I was talking about California Forever, and these type of new cities that they're bringing up that basically have eminent domain, that basically run themselves inside of a government, but they don't follow any of our government laws. They have their own laws. They only follow the criminal laws. That's it. They don't follow the tax laws. They don't follow the EPA. They don't follow the FCCs. They got their own banks, their own Bitcoin. And so we're coming to that now. All the farmers are losing their land, just like I said they would. I told you it was a trap way back in COVID. I said this is the biggest land grab you ever gonna see because prices went sky high for corn and everything else, but so did the property. So did the land they were renting and the land that they were working. That went up too. Yeah, the mortgages went up, everything went up because they were making more money. And it never came back down. But the prices of corn and soybean and everything else came back down because the world trade went back to normal. And so Trump completed the circle for the billionaires to grab up all y'all's farmland by tanking the soybean sales and the trade with the tariffs. So now we stuck here with all this food that we all can't sell to each other. So we're waiting for a bailout again, just kicking the can down the road. That don't help the market though. That just kicks the can down the road because thousands of farmers are losing their farms because they can't sell their product. Barely breaking even, if that, but definitely not profiting. Definitely are in the hole. Definitely are tapped out on credit. So when you see these new wave slaves coming up out of the ICE immigration camps working the fields, remember I told you so. Remember that. And when you see Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk jumping into the food game, that means all the agriculture will be up under them. They'll be controlling the markets for food. Don't say I didn't tell you so. But I want y'all to take a look at this right here. This is people that have not returned to their homeland for visas that have been overstayed. Now we all know that we are so headstrong as to say there's so many Mexicans and Venezuelans and Trinidadians that are here millions and millions. But according to the visas, you know what I mean? According to the people that have overstayed visas, because all these people that they're kicking out, I only see them kicking out Mexicans and Venezuelans. I don't see them kicking out too many Africans. You know, I don't see them talking about Chad. You know, Bush made that special, you know, provision for people from Africa back in the day. In the late 90s, I believe it was. Bush made a special visa for the people of Chad and sub areas outside of Chad for them to come over. And they're at the top of the list. Nobody's been keeping track of them. They've been coming over, getting jobs, just staying forever. And nobody's even mentioned their name because it was a Republican policy that got put in place that allowed them to come over here in the first place. So Chad is at 48.9. That is half the people that come over here on a visa. That's supposed to be to visit. That's supposed to be to conduct business and then go back home. They never leave. Then you got Guinea. They had 33%. Myanmar, you know where they had that coup? Yeah, where the people were jumping on boats trying to get away and stuff like that down in Myanmar. They had 33%. Haiti, they had 31%. Now, Haiti has been coming here for a long time, but we had an influx after that flood. There was a big catastrophe, and we got about 38,000 people that were Haitians, but they had already been coming here. So out of that 38,000 people, we're not counting them because they got a special visa during the Biden administration. We're talking about the ones that came in before the flood. They have about 31% that have not went back home. 31%. Laos. I ain't heard nobody say nothing about the Philippines. 30% of the people have not went back home that came here on work visas. They working jobs, they setting up families, all of that. And what about the representative of Congo, where he supposedly just did that peace deal? Ain't nobody checking them either? Because they had 30% too. Notice how I haven't said Mexico, Venezuela. They're not even in the top 10. You understand that? They're not even in the top 10. I'm quoting figures of people that don't go home at 30 and 29 and 25%. Venezuela only has 9% of the people that don't return back home by visa. Mexico only has 1.7% that don't return back when their visas are out. And India has even less than that, 1.4%. So why are we so focused on Mexico and Venezuela if they're not that big of a problem? Now, I know some of y'all gonna be like, we're talking about the illegals that just came over here. Well, I don't see boatloads of people that are illegal immigrants leaving here. I see them disappearing. We don't know where they went in Alligator Alcatraz. 1,000 people. Nobody has a clue. Where they go? Where they go? We don't got no flight logs. Nobody's keeping track of anything. So I'm trying to say that our numbers are so screwed up, we don't know what to believe. Listen to this. Our numbers are so screwed up that we don't know what to believe. But I do know there are a lot of people, according to the statistics, that are just missing in America. And either they're just leaving the country, they're locked up and don't have the correct names, or they're dead and nobody's reported it. And I got to thinking about this, about how many law enforcements that are Proud Boys and Oath Keepers, you know, whatever white supremacy groups there are. When you look at this list, there are no European countries that are on the list as for overstay of visit. Are they even counting that? Are they even counting that? I don't see any, India, Mexico, Venezuela, Sudan, Congo, Laos, Haiti, Myanmar, Guinea, and Chad. I don't see any European nations on here for overstaying of visas. That's odd. That's odd. Because they overstaying. There's plenty of them. But I guess we're not keeping count of that. So I want to know, where are all these people that I see on these lists right here? At over half the people that come from Chad don't return back. So where are they at? So I got to looking at death tolls. And our death tolls for minorities in America, for the least amount of populated people, and we're talking about, like the Asian, the Mexican, the Black, the Chinese, those numbers are outrageous for deaths here in America for such a small fraction of people. And I got to thinking, I was like, with ICE and them in control, and you no longer hear anything about Proud Boys, Oath Keepers, none of them, because they all working for ICE. We know that. We know that, right? This was the plan all along. That's why they kept making the gun law so loose, because everybody can have guns, right? Now they all joined ICE. You know what I'm saying? They all joined ICE. So now we got a bunch of, overly populated white nationalists that have complete and total control of our country, and they're running amok. So I'm just wondering, how many people have they killed on the coup? Think about that.
And in the process of the people with whom he was grouped.
The defense for Officer Matthew Gallagher asks for the charges to be dismissed, arguing a cooperating sergeant lied to the grand jury. The special prosecutor claims.
Now, this is the face of a man who was killed. This is the body cam footage. And I've taken the time to slow down on some areas so that you all can see what I'm talking about. Notice that all these people are Caucasian.
To each of you, beyond a reasonable doubt. You've heard a lot about beyond a reasonable doubt yesterday and today. The highest burden we have in our system of justice. Ladies and gentlemen, that is in fact the cornerstone of our system of justice.
This is what they're doing. Kicking him in the groin. Punching. He's handcuffed with his hand behind his back. He just hit him in the face 2 times before that and split his face open. You are witnessing a live assassination that all these cops here were complicit with in killing this young man.
The prosecution will be putting in these videos into evidence.
Damn. Now, I want to stress that this man was already in the 2 fights in his cell where he was at. He was hit with, I guess, a lock, and he has brain bleed. And they were supposed to be transporting him for medical. But somewhere along the lines, they decided to kill him. We have no idea what for. He wasn't able to fight back on anything. He has been handcuffed the entirety of this time. And why they are taking so much time getting him out of there, no one knows. Why are they laughing? Why are they laughing as they beat him relentlessly? As he's having severe breathing problems because they've broken his ribs, they've cracked his whole nasal passage. Like I said, this was before, no blood on him. That's how he came down. This is after they beat him. Cracked his whole jaw, eye socket, smashed it in. Now, you may ask, why are they doing this on camera? Of course, they did not know they were on camera. The gentleman, hit him again. The gentleman
Any docs
that had filmed this version, they thought the cameras were off, and that's why there's no sound. They won't let us have sound. We know there is sound, but they won't let us have sound. All of them have, well, at least 4 of them have pled guilty, and they are definitely going to serve time. But the point that I'm trying to make is this: when you have cops that do this on a regular, this is the one time they got caught. You can tell by how efficient they are, how at what they're doing and how they're doing it. They take him in the corner and they beat him some more. At this point, the gentleman whose camera is on, he doesn't know it's on right now. And the guy is going to ask him, hey, you sure that ain't on? Because he's not amongst them. He's a transport guy. These guys are all in-house officers, but he's a guy that's just coming to take him to another place. So they told him to go get some shackles, and he walked out, and he's trying to say that he didn't see anything. He didn't know this is what there was going on. But as you see, his camera is showing them beating the young gentleman. So he's trying to say, I shouldn't be caught up in this. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't do anything. And he did it, as far as we can tell. But he's there and he's being compliant. And no one is saying anything. So now he goes back into the room. Once again, they refuse to let us have sound. All these body cameras, no sound. Yes, he's still in the corner getting beat. Why is he supposed to be over there? For shackles. Now, they could have put the shackles on when he was sitting down on the thing.
16 hours, as they often are in the Department of Corrections. Nick was due to return.
Now, they do this all the time. You can tell by how nonchalantly they're doing it, how they're laughing. This is a casual everything. We got us one today. We got us one. But here's something that I want everyone to pay attention to. In 2019, 46.8 million people identified as Black in the United States. 46.8 million. 46.8 million. In 2020, the Black or African American population in the United States was about 41.1 million. 41.1 million. Are you paying attention? In 2021, they said the population was 49.586. 49 million. Almost 50 million. 49 and a half. Which made up about 14%. Are you listening? Now, the increase in the black population from 2021 to 22 is due to the combination of factors, including the natural population growth from a rise in birth rates, increased immigration from Africa and Caribbean countries, and changes to the climate because it caused a lot of destruction in those areas and we took people in. So that was from 2021 to 2022. And we know those are also the pandemic years, where everybody was just getting back here and everything was all out of whack, right? Everything was all out of whack. So by 2022, we had pretty much fully recovered, but we took in a lot of people during those years. So that's why the rate went up to 49. Keep that number in 49 million. Now, this is what I was saying, that in 1991, there was a coup in Haiti, a surprise military coup in September 1991 that led to a flood of refugees fleeing the country. Rapid displacement. Within 6 months, over 38,000 Haitians were intercepted by the U.S. Coast Guard. So we got a good little bump from that back in 1991. So they're not a part of this new numbers that we're talking about in 21 and 20. So we don't even count those. But they had access to come over here because it's something that George Bush did. In the 1990s, the Immigration Act of 1990 created the Diversity Visa Program, also known as the Green Card Lottery. This program specifically targeted countries with low rates of immigration to the United States, including Chad, and led to a substantial increase in migration from those regions. George Bush did that. They lobbied to have these Africans come over here. Now, I'm not saying there's something wrong with Africans coming over here, but a lot of them didn't even want to come over here because they know how racist it was over here. But they tried to make things real good for them. They gave them programs and they gave them all kind of assistance and stuff like that. The stuff they arguing about now. The stuff that they say the immigrants is getting now. Yeah, George Bush did that, baby. Yeah, George Bush did that. He wanted them over here. We was hurting. He needed more people. You know what I'm saying? We had locked up most of our black population. Everybody was in jail back in the 90s after they put on crack out there and stuff. So yeah, they needed more slaves to come over. Do you understand what I'm saying? The 2000s, the number of immigrants from the sub-Saharan African, including Chad, continued to grow in the 2000s. By 2022, approximately 2.1 million African immigrants lived in the United States because of Bush. Because of that visa program that Bush did. The immigration visa that Bush purposely set up for them to come over. And in my opinion, it's just so that we could make them slaves. Lock them up by any means necessary. In Brazil, the United States, and Colombia were the countries most affected. Northern Central America and the Caribbean islands are among the areas most vulnerable to climate migration. Adverse environmental events that led to displacements often harm other rights. In the Caribbean and Central America, the effects of climate change. Although climate migration occurs mainly within countries, And that's what happened, folks. So I don't believe that all these immigrants came over here illegally. I believe that they stayed illegally. They overstayed their visas. But we create this trap, these special visas traps during hardship times. And then we all at once say, okay, now everybody got to go back home. You better hurry up and do it within a month or else you're going to jail. That's a trap. That's a trap. So that's what Trump has been doing. And since he allocated all these funds for ICE and these detention centers, they're not sending these people back. I've been telling y'all that. They're going to be incarcerated slaves. In 2022, an estimated 45.4 million Black Americans were recorded, according to statistics. Okay? 2022, 45.4 million. In 2024, an estimated 39.9 million people in the United States identified as Black or non-Hispanic. In 2021, the Black or African American population in the United States was 49, which made it up to 14% of the country. (2022) 45. 2024, 39. One more time. 2022, 45.4 million people. 2024, 39. (2021) was supposedly 49 and a half. So from 2021 at 49 and a half million to 2024 to 39.9, almost 40 million. When you do the math, that's 49.5 million minus 39 million. That's 9.6 million people missing in 2 years. How is that possible? How's that possible? Now, we know that a lot of people came over with that B1 and B2 and non-immigrant temporary visitor visa for the United States. Now, the B1 visa is for business, consultations, conferences, contract, and negotiations, right? And the B2 visa is for tourism, vacations, visiting family, and medical treatment. So those are the two ways that Biden opened up the door for people to come over in from Africa back in the 90s with his special, passport visas. That's what they did. That's what they did. They opened up the door for that. They really did. So y'all tell me how we went from 45 to 39.9 and lost over 9 million people in 2 years. However, which way you want to say we lost them, I don't know. But how could we be that bad at math? 9 million? 9 million? Really? Really? Another interesting story is this right here.
Good to see you, man.
So I saw these videos on social media of you being chased down by a mob of violent Israeli terrorist settlers. And we can put some of these images up on the screen. And you, of course, have been documenting abuses against Palestinians in the West Bank for months at this point. If you could just take us through where you are and what the hell we're looking at here.
Yeah, I'm in a...
Okay, so you see this is a hill up here. And this gentleman is reporting on the Gaza Strip and on the West Bank. Now, in the West Bank, we have a large Christian, settlement there that is supposed to be protected by the IDF. That's the Israeli police. But unfortunately, they haven't been telling us the truth, and they've been letting the Israeli settlers take their land. And these lands right here are for the olive and olive oil trade. They grow olive trees and they pick olives, but they're way out in the fields. So there's a little village where they have really nice houses because these people were rich. They got money. They own land, they own olive oil businesses. And so now that Christian area is 65% Christians, right? And a lot of them are people that have started businesses in America, and they, had land overseas and they wanted to grow and have an export, for the olives and stuff like that. So they bought land over there. So they're Americans. They have special visas for business. So they own land and they have people there working it and all of that. So the Israelis came over here and the gentleman was reporting on, the work of the people picking the olives and stuff. He said he walked up the hill and the Israeli police told him, "Hey man, what y'all doing out here?" And he told him what he's doing and stuff. He said, "Okay, come with us because they're getting kind of crazy out here." And he walks them up a hill, the police. And when they get to the top of the hill, it's the journalist and a few of his crew, and they in a caravan. And he got all the equipment and stuff and everything. And when they get there to the top of the hill, he said that the IDF police just burned off in the Jeep, took off. And they were just sitting there like, what's going on? Next thing you know, 100 Israelis come running after him. And that's what you're seeing right now. So it was like the police set him up. They told him, "Hey, come on, follow us." Like they gonna protect him. Because he said, "Yo, yeah, we just trying to get out of here." You know what I'm saying? At this point, we don't want no trouble. We just reporters, right? And so they brought him to a certain point over the hill. They could not see. All these people ran up the hill. It was like the police knew they were there, and they just burned off and left.
A town called Termisaya, which is just outside Ramallah in the central West Bank.
Here,
this is the first day of the olive harvest for the village. Basically, everybody went out together as a group because they knew they were expecting settler violence, and so everybody drove in a caravan to their individual plots.
Because,
and
it'll they won't let me post it. But I want to show you another part when they were running before they got the car back. I guess they got the car back. He said,
maybe you'll show. Basically, he smashed through our windshield and then he runs ahead. And that's a video of him just beating an elderly lady who had been picking olives. He knocked her unconscious with the club. And then he hit her twice more when she was on the ground. And then he kept running, and then he beat two European activists. And I went to help the lady. This is that scene right now. She has a brain hemorrhage.
Take it out.
Last I heard, she was in the ICU, but she had stabilized. So that's good news. But it was just total chaos. I mean, it was pandemonium. And, this is funny.
So you won't see this on the news. This is why I use a lot of these different, YouTube journalists. Breaking Points is real good. But if you're watching our news, it's been arrested by the Israeli government and by the Trump administration because they are now breaking the law at unbelievable levels. They're breaking the law. So what you're looking at right now is the gentleman who's supposed to be protected by the Israeli government, and these are the texts that he sent to the American embassy. We need American protection. We are Americans. Unfortunately, we simply can't do that. Much as I might personally like to, we haven't got the manpower to protect the nearly 60,000 American Palestinians, and legally, we're not permitted. I'm an American tourist. Can you protect me? Unfortunately, no. The protection of American citizens is always the responsibility of the host nation government. which is why we pull our embassies out of places that host nations can't or won't protect them. Syria, Iran, Yemen, Venezuela, etc. Are you implying that the Israeli government will protect me and the other Americans here? I don't understand. The IDF led us directly into an ambush. That's what's supposed to happen. Yes, they're supposed to protect you. Oh my God. Oh my God. So, somebody need to talk to somebody about something because they're killing Christians and they're taking their land. And it's supposed to be the host nation's responsibility to protect visa protected people. That would be a tourist. That would be American Palestinians that have business over there, but they were born here in America, but they still have like family and stuff that was born there in Palestine, and they got business over there and they have legitimate visas. So now we're saying that the Israeli government will no longer be responsible. Our embassy, that's our embassy, talking to our American in Israel, telling them that, yeah, they're supposed to protect you, but really, we can't do nothing because they said they're going to protect y'all. It's their country. We just here. So, I don't know what to tell you. I'm just giving y'all the facts. I'm just giving y'all the facts. But in my personal opinion, with everything that's going on, with all the killings, with all the disappearances, with ICE running amok, not following the Constitution or laws, you know what it is. They're breaking the law. There is no law. There's only the ICE way. This is the new ICE age.
We've seen that. We know they're blatantly defying court orders. We've seen that. And we know they're lying in their press releases. And they're doing this to gin up fake war zones to justify police action. But are they actually destroying evidence? Well, court documents filed this week that are largely going unreported seem to indicate that they are. And I'm going to show them to you. I'm Allison Gill, and this is The Breakdown.
The Breakdown with Allison Gill. She's fairly new on the Midas Touch. I know a lot of y'all are familiar with Ben on the Midas Touch and Legal AF. That's another one. This is what I do. I'm trying to give y'all some YouTube channels that y'all can go to, because if you're watching the news is under arrest. You're not getting the whole story. You're only getting Trump's story.
All right, is the government destroying exculpatory evidence that proves people they claim are assaulting federal agents are actually innocent? And oftentimes, they're the victims of assault perpetrated by the government. We've already got an established pattern. If you've been watching The Breakdown, you'll recall a few weeks ago, this guy. This is Trump's Border Patrol lieutenant in Southern California. His name's Gregory Bavino, a guy, by the way, who has been reprimanded in his employee file for calling undocumented immigrants scum, filth, and trash. And this guy recently lied to a judge and a jury in the case of Ramos Brito, when he said he witnessed Ramos Brito hit a federal agent. But video produced by the public defender in the case showed that the Fed actually hit Ramos Brito. It took a jury less than an hour to acquit. Also, in the Kilmar Abrego case, this is the birthday of one of the people Mr. Abrego was driving to a work site when he was pulled over in 2022. Now, it sure looks like the government altered this evidence by changing the 1 to a 7 so that they could say Mr. Abrego was transporting a minor instead of a 21-year-old, which would earn an automatic detention hearing. And that's not just me speculating, right? That's not just me being like ginning up a conspiracy theory. The magistrate judge in the case, Judge Barbara Holmes, wrote, quote, additionally, defense counsel argued at the detention hearing that the 7 in the written birth year of a 2007 appears to have been modified from a 1. That is not entirely without foundation, as there does appear to be some overwriting of the 7. And this week, in the case of Sidney Reed, some evidence mysteriously grew legs and has gone walkies, as Rachel Maddow would say. Sidney Reed is the woman accused of assaulting an FBI agent. But Judge Boxwine, Jeannie Pirro, took the case to 3 different grand juries, and all 3 refused to return an indictment. So they took Miss Reed to trial on the first ever federal misdemeanor assault case in D.C. Video of the actual incident went missing. We know the officers had it because they watched it while Miss Reed was detained in the back seat of their car, and she recorded that interaction.
Okay, I have to stop it right here because I don't want to get demonetized for playing too much of. But I just wanted you to hear how they are fabricating lies. Because Kristi Noem came on a national press conference and said that, yeah, 10 cars came and, ambushed our agents, and they pulled a gun and they was trying to kill our agents. That's what Kristi Noem said. On live TV at a press conference in front of Trump, Pam Bondi, and everybody, the whole world. When they already had the videotape of what really happened. And what really happened, the lady was running around telling people, hey, ICE in the neighborhood, stay in your houses, don't come outside. And the day before that, she was like, yo, we got to get these motherfuckers. We can't keep letting them come out here and do us this way. She posted that on her Instagram. They found out who she was and they went go looking for her. They also knew that she was a registered gun carrier. So when the police report came out, they made all this up. They went and rammed her. They pulled guns on her and they shot her, which was the total opposite of the story they told us. The gun was not even in the police report. They talked about it on TV. That's because they knew she had a gun, because it was registered. But she never pulled a gun. It was in her purse. And that's where it stayed the whole time. So why she get shot 5 times when they rammed into her? The lady took it to 3 different grand juries trying to convict her. 3. All of them said, man, what y'all doing? This is bogus. Then y'all said that she fled the scene and went to the hospital. No, she didn't. She was shot 5 times. They called an ambulance at the body shop, which is about a block away. She sped off because she seen it was an assassination attempt. They started shooting at her immediately, as soon as they hit the car. I believe the correct words was after she got hit and they jumped out and pointed all the guns at her and they said, do something, bitch. Bop, 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 bop. Shot in the car. She speed off. She don't know what's going on. She don't know what's going on. All she knows there's heavy artillery. She's getting shot. She took off. Made it by a block and a half. It was a auto body shop. And that's where the ambulance was called. And they came and administered aid to her. And she survived. And the judge, when she went to court the next day, released her after they seen the video. This is the administration we're up under now. So, y'all can take that how y'all want it. I don't know what y'all gonna do with it. But I know one thing, we can't give up our First Amendment rights, and we're going to keep talking about Charlie Kirk. So, Mr. Cash Patel, you can kiss my ass. What makes it so funny is that Cash Patel started his whole career with conspiracy theories. Him and Dan Bongino on there talking about, yeah, the Epstein files, this, that. And when Biden was in office, they were saying they was hiding everything and all this, that, and the third. And now all of a sudden, you don't want no podcasters talking about nothing. When that was your whole claim to fame. Before Trump hired you, nobody knew who you was. You was just some podcaster. Had a little bit of work in the field, you know what I mean? But mostly, we knew you from coming on Dan Bongino's and all the rest of the Fox show hosts talking about them Epstein files and what you would do if you got in there. Now you're in there and look at you now. Now you don't want nobody saying nothing. But that's a First Amendment right, baby. We got the right to say whatever the fuck we want. And if you think that what we say way on the other side of the country is going to taint your case, then you ain't got no case. Let the evidence speak for itself. But we all know that evidence you pumping up got holes bigger than Swiss cheese. Y'all know that's what he said when he came on TV. They're going to end up making us, tank the case. We going to end up making you tank the case? The people out here seeing all the bullshit, seeing all through the holes. In other words, we're calling out what the defense is going to call out. We'll say, how the hell you say he got on the roof? He left the screwdriver. He jumped off the roof with a gun that nobody sees. Then he went into the woods and left it there, fully put back together. But you say he broke it down, but he left the screwdriver on the roof, but he put it back together in the woods. And then you show a picture of a gun that ain't even a gun. Then you have two guys you said you caught, but that wasn't them. All the conspiracy theories are coming from you, Cash Patel. From all the holes in this trumped up story that y'all have made up. The time frame don't fit. The bullet wound don't fit. Nothing fits. The angle of the shot, nothing fits. We got your experts, your MAGA experts. Valhalla VHT. Y'all need to go check him out. He is one of the woke right now. He's a veteran. Special forces. He trained all the people in the field. Been to war for real. Did this for real. He do this for fun now. Train people how to do espionage, black ops stuff. Probably trained many of the Proud Boys and, Oath Keepers and all of them. He top of the line. Green Beret, you know what I'm saying? Like Valhalla, VAFT. Go check him out and see what he says happened with Charlie Kirk. But it definitely ain't the story that the FBI is telling you. And he'll tell you flat out. He said you got to be a goddamn fool to believe that bullshit. That's what Valhalla said. He the ballistics expert. And by the way, he called you a pussy, Patel. Especially for that comment you made about, we'll see you in Valhalla, brother. Charlie Kirk. Coming from a man that ain't had no boots on the ground. What warrior are you, brother? To be saying a statement like that. That's for warriors. They take offense to that. You ain't no warrior. You're a coward. And you're sitting here lying to these people every day. We fall up under the First Amendment right. You can't tell us to stop talking about Charlie Kirk. You can't tell us to stop having free thought and free speech. Said that, meant that, if I go with that.